a new course on attention activism on round glass. And what we're going to do today is we're going to stop trying to stop trying. That's the idea. Seems kind of nebulous, unclear, maybe seems simple. It actually can be quite tricky, especially in today's media environment. And that's really what we're going to be exploring today. But before we get started, I'd love for you to share in the chat, in the comments, where you're joining from, your name, what you're hoping to get out of this. The reality is I'm looking at a camera right now, and it's really challenging in this kind of day and age to try to really connect and teach to a camera. So the more that I have a sense of who you are, where you're coming from, and really get that feeling that you're on the other end of this, the better I'm going to be able to guide you. And that's why it's important that you share what you're hoping to get out of this, because I will tailor our practice today to your needs. So while you do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about a memory I had this morning when I was reflecting on how I was going to come do this today. And the memory was really about this moment when I was a kid, and I can still picture it. It was a house, a family house where I grew up in Montreal. And my father came home with a big paper bag. And there was a lot of excitement, and I was really young. I didn't know what it was. And he brought it on the kitchen table, and he pulled the sides of the paper bag down. And I still remember this. And I didn't really know what it was, but I saw that my older brother was really excited. And it turns out what it was a little gray box that he then proceeded to hook up to the TV. And the TV lit up with a little block of squares that we called Mario. And life really changed in that moment. I also remember the first time I was at a pub in my 20s and someone showed me the first iPhone I'd ever seen, and they were watching a video on their phone. And I was kind of flooded this morning with these moments of how our lives have changed and how things have really become very different. Now, in some ways, everyone's life changes throughout their lifetime, and especially the transition from being a kid to an adolescent to a teenager to a young adult is full of change. But I think in our short lifetimes, we're seeing some dramatic exponential change that's really changing the way we live. And one of the things that's really challenging about it is that we're now stuck in a loop of so much doing. We're constantly doing. We're doing. We're trying all the time. We're trying to work hard. We're trying to get ahead. We're trying to be, good family members. We're trying to be nice. We're trying to take care of ourselves. We're trying to exercise. And yes, we're also trying to meditate. We're just constantly trying. And there never seems to be a break to stop the effort. I noticed this morning, even on my way over here, that even when people stop at a traffic light, they're so we're so in the rhythm of doing that even in that 1 minute while you wait for the light to turn, you're kind of clawing for your phone, or you're changing the song, or you're just doing. And there's never really that opportunity to just be as you are. And I really think that that's something that we need a little bit more of, because the human brain is not a computer. It's not a machine. It needs downtime. It needs rhythm. It needs exploration. It can't just be constantly producing and doing. And I think a lot of us are starting to feel the effects of that. So I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about that, but I also really wanted to do a practice today that will really guide us into that experience. So I'm looking at the chat here. I'm seeing we've got people joining from Philadelphia. We've got someone from Seattle who's looking for inspiration, someone from Holland who's looking for more inspiration. I think inspiration is a good theme for us. So please continue to share in the comments, but thank you so much for sharing that. Whether you're joining from the US, Asia, or Canada, where I am here in Toronto, or anywhere in the world, please know that you're welcome. It's great to be connected. I'm so glad to have you here. And as always, please do not hesitate to share questions or thoughts in the chat and the comments. I will answer those after. But first, let's dive into a practice. Now, the first thing I'll say is that this practice is yours. You can do it however you want to. Everything I say is a suggestion. So really make it your own, follow your instincts. If you've got a practice you already have momentum with and you just want to share this time with me, please do that. If you're not so sure about this and you just want to relax and listen, please don't hesitate. And of course, if you want to follow my instructions to a T and stop trying with me, I of course encourage you to do that as well. So let's get started. The first thing I'll say is find a posture or a position that really captures your intention for this half an hour here. So I like to be kind of upright, so sort of stretching the top of my head to the sky, and then relaxing my cheeks, relaxing my jaw, relaxing my shoulders, relaxing my belly, letting go of any tension that I might be holding in my hips, and really slowly scanning down, sinking until I reach that point of contact with the ground. And really, quite literally, letting that ground me. And at this point, if you'd prefer to close your eyes, you're more than welcome to do that. If that feels safe for you, if that feels comfortable or relaxing. If you'd like to keep your eyes open, I encourage you to just relax your gaze on a single point. So maybe find a point on the floor in front of you, rest your gaze there, and then just relax the muscles of your eyes. And we're not going to rush into this, so let's take a moment to enjoy this posture. And remember that the posture you're in now is your conceptual idea of what your posture should be. But in the next minute or so, I want you to let your body take the lead. All the little micro adjustments your body's asking for. For example, I can feel my right knee just wants to slide out a little bit. I can feel that I want to relax my shoulders a little bit more. So just let your body take the lead and make all those little micro adjustments you need to feel really comfortable and alert. And from this place of balance, I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't want you to try too hard to answer it, but instead just notice the answer that naturally comes in that little inner voice, that space of your mind. Why are you here practicing with me today? I'll ask it again and again. Just let the answer come to you. Why are you here? Now, whatever came up, see if you can simplify it down to a single word. Capture it in a word. Choose a word you can come back to throughout the meditation to remind you of your motivation, to provide you with that inspiration. Maybe even choose a word that you can come back to for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. Something that really captures what motivates you in this moment, here and now. Okay, once you've chosen a word, take a few deep breaths. No need to force it too much, just as deep as feels comfortable. And as you do it, notice that quality of physical, gross motor effort here. That this mysterious body-mind can cultivate an intention to breathe deeply. And it can manifest that intention. It can activate that effort into your diaphragm and pull that air into your body. Notice that quality of effort. What does it feel like to try? Now drop that effort. Let your breathing return to normal, to a natural rhythm. Letting the breath flow naturally. Noting the absence of that gross motor effort. Noticing the diaphragm in its natural state. Noticing the subtle flow of air in and out of your body, wherever you notice that most clearly. In and out. Simple but not easy. Stay with your breathing. Notice those subtle sensations, maybe in your belly or your chest or your nostrils. And bring a sense of love and curiosity to this. What does it feel like to breathe? What does it feel like to be you in this moment? If you notice your mind wander to some other experience, maybe a sound in your environment, maybe thoughts, maybe other body sensations, see if you can avoid resisting those and just let them come and go in the background while you kind of spotlight or foreground these sensations of breathing. We're just experimenting here. There's no need to take this too seriously. We're playing with this faculty of attention that is so pivotal to our lives. And as you gently surf those waves of breathing, see if you can notice that there's a more subtle effort still happening here. It's not that big effort of taking deep breaths, but there's a subtle effort of resting your attention that I'm guiding you into here. In that same way, you're able to channel an intention to control your attention. You're paying attention to your breath, and that takes a subtle effort, a cognitive effort, as the scientists say. And when you're ready, kind of like you're pushing off the side of a swimming pool, just dropping that effort. So no need to pay attention in any particular way anymore. Just drop that. Drop all effort. Drop the intention to pay attention to your breathing. Even drop the effort to meditate. Stop trying to meditate. Just be as you are in this moment and see what happens. In whatever amount of time we have remaining, we're going to stop putting any effort into this at all. It might seem simple, but you also might find it a little tricky. For example, if you notice thoughts in your mind, don't try to change that experience. Let it happen. Let all experience just kind of flow, like you're laying back on a raft, floating down the river of experience. Just There's nothing you need to do here. There's nothing you need to fix. There's no problem you need to solve. We're tapping into that feeling when you finished work for the week and you complete that last task, and then you know that you've got a couple of days off. That feeling of just nothing to do. If it helps, you can even sigh like I just did. Sometimes that helps. For the rest of this practice, everything is okay, exactly the way it is. Just let it all be. If you're experiencing pain or discomfort or even sleepiness in your body, that's okay. Just let it be. Notice it. It's part of who you are in this moment. If you're finding yourself a little confused about this practice and what's being instructed here, that's fine. You're confused. That's part of who you are right now. Let it be. If you find yourself frantically racing through thoughts about all the things that you have to do, that's okay too. Let it flow. Let it happen. Nothing to change about what you're experiencing in this moment. Stop trying. Stop trying to stop trying. Stay with this. And for these last few moments, let's stir in that little ingredient of warmth and self-compassion and love. And the way we'll do that is I'll remind you that by doing nothing, by stopping trying, by letting everything happen as it is, you're actually engaging in a radical act of acceptance. That so much of the world around us is pushing us to not accept reality. That we need to be different, that things need to be different, that the world needs to be different. And there's wisdom to that too. But for this practice, accept it all as it is, with love and warmth and kindness and gratitude. Everything is okay, exactly the way it is. And now I want you to remember the word you chose at the beginning of this practice, your motivation. And as you start to pepper doing back into your day over the next little while, see if you can wear that word on your sleeve, if you can carry that word with you, and bring doing back into your life with that quality of intention. That from a place of non-doing, we find ourselves better suited to make a choice of what to do, but also how to do. And that's where this word can help guide you. Say that word to yourself a few times if it helps. And bring it back into your state of mind. Okay, nice work, or maybe not work. Nice being. Whenever you're ready, transitioning out of the practice, and please take your time. There's no rush to immediately snap back into the rhythm of doing. See if you can carry this quality forward like you're carrying a hot cup of tea, carefully stepping back into a typical daily state of mind. Get a sip of water, have a little stretch if you need one. And as you start to sort of come back, I'll encourage you in the comments and in the chat just to share what you experienced during that practice. It could be a word. It could be your word that you chose. It could be a phrase, or if you're feeling up for it, please don't hesitate to write a paragraph. One of the things that always surprises me about our new online world is how healing it can be to see someone somewhere else in the world is living through an experience that's relevant to you. So please share generously in the chat and the comments. You never know how you might influence someone else by sharing your experience. While you do that, let's just reflect a little bit on the practice we did today. It might have feeling a little different if you're not used to this kind of practice. We could talk a little bit about the historical traditions here, but suffice it to say that there's a whole family of meditation practices that are related to completely dropping the effort and sort of tapping into that kind of immediate perfection of the present moment as a sort of balance to all the striving and doing that can kind of creep into our practice. For me, this was extremely powerful when I became a dad. About 3 years ago, my son is just about to turn 3. Life gets really busy when you make the transition to parenthood, as some of you might know. And I had been practicing with all these effortful practices. And I realized that the last thing I wanted to do after working all day and then taking care of our baby and not getting enough sleep was to sort of clear out some time to do some effortful meditation. And so instead, I tapped into these practices and really understood them for the first time. That if I could just sit on this trusty bench here and do nothing, that could be a practice too. And it actually turned out to be the exact practice I needed for that period in my life. And it has led me to the insight that actually a lot of us need this, given the amount of doing that we're doing. It's sort of heightened my awareness to a perception of this dimension of being versus doing that I see every time I walk in the street. And like I mentioned this morning, I even just saw it in the cars around me and in my own car and my own urges as we stopped at a traffic light. So in some ways, what we're doing here is taking meditation off the to-do list. It's so easy to fall in this pattern where meditation is just another thing we got to do, like, oh, I forgot to do my meditation today. And then we judge ourselves about it. But to let meditation instead be a space from all that, a space away from the to-do list and all the things we have to do. And if we can find that, it can really be a healing thing that we're excited to meditate because it's a true break, more so than the distractions that we usually do in our break. And we find ourselves trying too hard to take a break and not really recuperating. Seeing some of the messages coming in the chat here. Thank you so much to all of you who are sharing. I'm seeing peace. I'm seeing that you've got to let go. I think let go is a nice way to sum it up, right? Like in some ways we say that phrase a lot. You know, there's songs that have it and it's sort of motivational quote that you see all around. But what does it really mean to let go? Sometimes it means letting go of the effort to let go. And that can be really, really tricky. So thanks for joining me on this practice. I see that we have some questions coming in the chat here. So let's see if we can address a few of those before I go. What do we got here? What advice do you have for busy people who want to meditate but are having trouble scheduling it? Oh, such a great question. So the first piece of advice is what I just said, which is to think about how much effort you're pouring in and what's making it feel so effortful. The other thing I'll add is to notice really clearly the expectations you're placing on yourself. So often we can find ourselves, if we're in that doing mode, we can find ourselves really, demanding a lot of ourselves. Like, I'm going to meditate for an hour every morning for the rest of my life. And there's something kind of like bold about that intention, but there's also something kind of unrealistic about it. And you're setting yourself up for that feeling when you fall off the horse or you fall off the wagon, and then you feel really bad about yourself and all this negative energy starts to surround your practice. So instead, see if you can set the bar low and really enjoy that feeling of success. One of the things I did when I first started was I set up a cushion in my home. And that's really helpful too, by the way, like setting up a dedicated place. So I set up a cushion in my home and I said, I'm going to take at least one mindful breath on this cushion a day. And that bar is so low, right? I can just sit and take a breath. And many nights I would be about to fall asleep and I'd see that cushion and I'd be like, all right, I'd just go sit down and I'd go, and then I'd get up and I'd go to sleep. But I'd still get to kind of like check it off on my calendar as done. And what that really did is two things. Number one, there were some days where I sat on that cushion and I didn't just take one breath. I took 10 breaths, or I took 100 breaths, or I did a guided meditation. But then there were other days where I realized that there was all this positive energy surrounding the practice. Like I didn't want to break the chain, and I felt really accomplished that I had done this for 30 days. Maybe I missed a day or two, and that's okay too. But that positive energy really kept me going and helped me start to grow my practice in daily life. It's totally fine for falling off and getting back on. If you get mired in that failure mentality, it can be really, really tricky. When you feel yourself falling asleep in meditation, what do? That's a fantastic question. Okay, so let's try a little bit of an exercise here. If you just did that practice, I want you to consider the position you were in and whether your eyes were closed or open. And this is especially for the people who are feeling very sleepy. And I want you to ask yourself, and you can even try it now if we take a minute, to find a practice where you can stand up, for example, or you can be more upright, or you can have your eyes open. So let's take a minute now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open my chest up a little bit, going to open my hands, going to open my eyes wide, and I'm actually going to look at, there's a beautiful light up here. I'm going to look at the light above me here, and I'm just going to take a minute to pay attention to my breathing in a completely different position, and I encourage you to do the same right now. So just pay attention to your breathing and try to find a body position and opening your eyes in a way that feels a lot more awake. And just noticing the different quality of mind that's cultivated in this different physical posture. And so I encourage you to do this as a part of your regular practice. Okay, so what I'm pointing at here is this relationship between the body and mind. Just like your mind was able to cultivate a deep breath, you can control your muscles from this mysterious place of mind, there's also so much that can be shaped about your state of mind in terms of your physical posture. So whether that means in the middle of a practice, standing up, taking a big stretch, opening your eyes wide, and then going back, or actually doing the entire practice standing up with your arms open. You might know there's lots of movement practices like Tai Chi and martial arts and yoga. So finding that body position can be really, really powerful. Okay, the next question here. I want to become an attention activist. How can I start retraining my mind? So it seems the person who answered this question has already started diving into the course, which is great. The course is on attention activism, which is my framing for what these practices can do in the society we live in right now. In reality, we live in an attention economy where all the forces around us, whether it's nonprofits or big corporations or political parties or technology companies or content creators, or even me right now, there's all of these forces around you that are commanding your attention. They want you to pay attention. It's the same way if you're driving down the highway, there's a big billboard that's bright and red and has a big catchy tagline on it because it wants to command your attention. And the reason it wants to command your attention is because the bottom line of the company who put up that billboard will profit from you knowing who their brand is, which is fine. But at the same time, when we live in a world where it's everywhere and it's in our pockets and it's in our cars, we end up completely fragmented. It's not a coincidence to me that the practices that we are doing here are all about attention. And the growing interest in these practices is a form of activism in a world that's constantly trying to take your attention away from you. So the question, how can I start retraining my mind? One of the things that I've noticed in this area, and maybe you've seen some documentaries about big tech and modern advertising, and you know that there's a huge conversation happening on national and international scale about big tech companies and regulation and the science of tech use and mental health. There's also something you can do in your daily life, and that's what we just did. To me, when you're doing nothing or when you're practicing on your breath or doing any kind of mindfulness or even writing in your journal, what you're doing is you're carving out space for you to be your authentic self in life. You're finding space for your mind to reclaim itself. To me, yes, that is connected to thousands of years of spirituality from all traditions around the world. It's also connected to self-care and mental health, which we're building a scientific understanding of over the past 50, 60 years. But to me, it's also a form of activism in the modern world. So that's my framing of attention activism. And the way you start is start here and now. Set up that cushion, take one breath, and already you're doing something to start to influence change in your own life, in the life of the people around you, the people you live with, the people you care about, your friends, even the people you run into at the coffee shop. And then eventually that drop might ripple out into the ocean of the world. For me, my own personal story has been much like that. Here I am in the role of teaching meditation. When I started, I was just trying to find some space in my life. And as I started to do that, I found myself becoming less selfish. I found myself becoming more kind to the people around me, less self-obsessed. And then I looked at my work and I started saying, how can I actually take my skills as a technology designer and apply them to more sanity in the world, to more balance, to more mindfulness, to more care? And now here I am. So start where you are. Whatever you do in your daily life, find that space. However you interact with other people in the world, find that kindness and compassion. Create space for that relationship. And then whatever you do professionally, whatever you do working in the world, whether it's raising kids or whether it's some professional career or any kind of job, see if you can bring a little bit of that sort of attention activism there as well and see what happens. It can be a very fun and engaging experiment. And personally, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about it because it's been a very fulfilling journey for me. Okay, we've got another question here. How do physical and virtual environments shape happiness? Okay, that's a really, really great question. I think the place to start here is willpower. Often when we're talking about all the things we have to do, especially in the context of meditation, it feels like it requires a certain amount of willpower. We need to have that mental fortitude to, put the devices away and do a meditation, do a little bit of yoga before bed, or wake up early and take care of ourselves and cook a healthy meal and stop eating so much fast food or whatever it might be. It's just so much willpower. We have to try so hard to make it all happen. This is where environments come in. So one thing we know from the science, the neuroscience is basically pointing to willpower being kind of like a muscle, that you can actually exhaust your willpower. So if you spend all day working really hard, trying to do this, trying to do that, at some point you run out of that muscle and it becomes a lot harder at the end of the day to use that intention to take care of yourself. But this is where your environment can fit in. If you shape your environment, you can make it easier to fall into the habits that you're trying to cultivate. So for example, earlier I mentioned just having a cushion or a space set up in your room for meditation. That's a physical environmental change that serves as a natural reminder. Another thing you can do that I think is like a great starting point when it comes to attention activism and technology is to remove any digital internet access from your bedroom. This has been huge for me. So I don't let my phone or laptop or anything connected to the internet in my bedroom. So when I go to bed, no matter how much I might want to read something or check something, I can't, because that door is kind of like a boundary in my mind. Another thing that you might do is shape your social environments. You might find out the people you're hanging out with are a bad influence on you. And you might try to spend a little bit more time with people who have the habits that you aspire to build. And these are all examples of how environments can lessen the burden on willpower and make it easier for you to shape and build the habits that you want to build. So we're coming to the end of our time here today. I really wanted to make one more connection for you, which is when we do a practice of stopping trying and stopping trying to stop trying, when we really let ourselves be as we are, what we're doing is we're expressing our authentic selves in the world. And the more skilled that we can get at releasing all those burdens, the more we can find some authenticity in a crowded world where so many messages are trying to shape your identity. I find all the time someone asks me about some hot button issue and I start talking about it and I realize I'm just parroting the last article I read. Like, these aren't even my thoughts. So without any space, we can't find our authentic selves. At the same time, I'm not saying that practices that require effort are somehow bad. It's all about balance. I just find that when I work with students and when I teach courses, there's a lot of people that are overemphasizing the striving effort and not a lot of the open expression of authentic self. So I hope this practice was useful for you. And I hope that you find a way to incorporate it into your practice so that you can balance all the doing in your life with more of a sense of being. So as you can tell, I get really excited about these topics and I ramble, but we have come to the end of our time. But if you did find this useful, what I'll say is that you can meditate with Round Glass Live every single day. You can join us again tomorrow, same time and same place. And starting today, I gotta be honest, I'm a little self-conscious about it, but I'm also really excited about it. We put together an entire course called Mindfulness Meditations for Attention Activism at round.glass/J. And it's also available on the Round Glass app. So given all that I've said about attention activism, I want to leave you with my gratitude. Thank you for paying attention to this right now. I hope it was useful. And if you stay tuned to this feed, there's going to be a preview of the course so you can learn a little bit more. So thank you very much and take care. The challenge of our time is to reclaim our attention. Powerful entities profit from our attention. Mindfulness can help you regain authentic choice in how you spend your waking life. Instead of letting outside influences suck all your time into whatever they're selling. Even in this economy of influence, it is possible to live wisely and intentionally. My name is Jay Vidyarthi, and I'm both a mindfulness teacher and a technology designer. And I'm also a person who has seen firsthand the impact technology can have on our minds, on our emotional well-being, on our relationships, and on our physical health. It's almost like nutrition. Sweets and desserts are delicious. They're not evil, but that doesn't mean you should just eat them all day, right? So it's the same thing. It's like, what is your information diet? And one thing I've learned is that a healthy relationship with technology is critical for your well-being. I call my stance on this attention activism. It's a way of practicing mindfulness with technology to help create a healthier relationship to our crowded media landscape. It's an active approach to reclaiming the most precious commodity we have, our attention. So the trick is to learn how to use technology with intention. And that's what we're going to explore today. How to cultivate that space for authentic choices. So when you choose to use technology, you choose well and you enjoy. And when you need to disconnect, you can choose to turn it off. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to empower you to make the choices you want to make. How are you building that healthier relationship? So what we're going to do in this course is we're going to really explore key skills and practices as well as framing to help you get clarity that technology isn't the problem, it's how you use it. Join me on Round Glass for this course, and let's reclaim our attention together.